on, guys? Valiant Style here, and today we're going to be talking about Dragon Ball Super in a discussion talking about some of the loose ends that still exist within Super in the storyline as well as its ending. As everybody already knows, it's been officially said that Super will be stopping or ending around the beginning of April, where it will be replaced by another show. Now, one of the main things I wanted to touch upon in this is that a lot of people say it's going to end at episode 131, and I really haven't found anything concrete outside of a lot of different things saying it may end when the DVD release comes out for Super, but I haven't read anything about the DVD release that says it's like all of Super and everything like that, as well as like how many episodes it holds, because everybody knows Dragon Ball does a lot of different things when it comes to episode counting in what episodes are shown in the DVD, where they could possibly sell even more DVDs later on. So saying that it'll end on that day with episode 131 seems a little bit rough on a multitude of reasons. One is what's going to happen with Toppo, because it doesn't seem like you can resolve this Toppo situation and Jiren within that time frame unless you're going to go for, quite honestly, a cop-out ending, and basically Universe 7 wins by default by having more people than Universe 11. And that ending is absolutely just the worst possible way this could end. And that's the only way I can see it ending at 131. Even if we got Vegito in the end, like a lot of people are predicting or wanting, it just doesn't make a lot of sense to sit there and be able to resolve this within the next couple of episodes. It just makes absolutely none. So my whole thing is that, oh, and as an added thing too, I'll post a picture of a calendar up here of when the DVD is supposed to come out. When the DVD is supposed to come out, there's still another 3 total Saturdays. Count them. 3 Saturdays for, well, excuse me, in March, that basically says that, hey, Super's going to end close to the beginning of March instead of the beginning of April, which means there's 3 days worth of slots that, well, 3 different Saturdays worth of slots where basically, what, it'll be reruns of the last 3 episodes? Come on, guys. Let's be a little bit realistic here and actually look into calendars and stuff like that. On top of which, you know, granted, yes, there's one thing that says it'll end around March 25th, because that's when the actual DVD release is. That's one thing I've read. I'll be posting a couple of different links down below to certain things, as far as like one post that I've read that came out around January 19th for it. But it just makes no sense that episode 131 will be on the 25th when just this coming up Saturday will be 126, and we've barely just gotten into February. Come on. Come on. Let's use some rationale here, people. So with that, I still highly believe that there will be a couple of more episodes. I do thoroughly believe that it will be done when it's supposed to be done for the switch to happen at the beginning of April, but I'm picturing it'll probably end more so around 135 rather than 131. I know that's only a 4 episode difference, but that's 4 episodes worth of extra information that we can get that'll work out, as well as extra, I wouldn't call it filler, but I feel like those extra 4 episodes would be more than enough to sit there and help us feel satisfied and get that satisfied ending that we're looking for in that final fight with Jiren. Because it will end up being a final fight with Jiren. It's just a matter of getting out Toppo and who all from Universe 7 is still there. Because a lot of people are predicting that Frieza will still be in. I'm personally on the side that Frieza will be eliminated or will eliminate himself. A little bit more on that later throughout this discussion as we segue into other topics. But there's so much that needs to be discussed, needs to be shown, because another one of the links down there is basically talking about, similarly to how Ken Zyro does some of the summaries for the upcoming episodes, which is how we get some of our spoilers. There was one done by another Dragon Ball enthusiast that basically shows all the spoilers or summaries up to 131, which is the supposed end. And just as a couple of things just off of it alone makes no sense is what happened to Topo. There's no discussion of Topo after Android 17's 127 episode, which is entitled Barrier of Hope, basically. So what happens to, so what's supposed to happen with Topo? I guess we understand with this new bit of information from it that, again, spoilers, ladies and gentlemen, if you don't want to be spoiled, please skip ahead a little bit. But essentially, Android 17's sacrifice will be in vain in trying to take out Topo, which will leave Frieza against Topo, in which Frieza will go all out against Topo for actually feeling sorry that 17 got eliminated because 17 never judged him. That's what the summary says. Again, it only is in below. You can read it yourself, guys. This is really, really weird. But on top of that, you literally get in 128 onward, it's just basically the fight between Goku, Vegeta, and Jiren. So now that begs the other question of, so this episode coming up that's Vegeta's thing against Topo, what's gonna happen with that? Like, does he just walk away after? It's like, okay, well, you kind of withstood that. Well, I'm gonna go back and fight Jiren now. Why? Just what sense does that make? All the way up until basically 130 is the episode where we're supposedly supposed to get Vegeta, and Vegeta will fight Jiren, and then that's the end of the that's the end of the tournament right there, that episode. Because the next synopsis is basically talking about, they're back on Earth. It's the ending of Z, where Goku meets Oob at the tournament, and he does all that stuff. It makes absolutely no sense whatsoever. So with that in mind, making sure it makes sense is giving it those 4 extra episodes, even if 2 of them is only fighting. Granted, 3 of them should be fighting. The final episode in 135 should literally be the entire episode of them headed back to Earth, or basically, no, I take that back. 2 episodes and basically need to be fighting. 2 episodes need to be the ending, and then basically making the wishes, making sure the wishes are intact and doing everything they need to do with that, and then the epilogue episode, which basically wraps everything up in a nice bow for the upcoming movie in 2018. Because that's the other thing too that makes no sense, as far as like it immediately jumping to Oob and then Goku training Oob, and the way Z basically ended is, what about the 2018 movie that's coming out later this year? Again, if this is a movie that the producers over at Toei have already said that it's a movie entirely based on the Saiyans, why would Goku all of a sudden pick up Oob as a trainee or pupil, as it were? Just these small little things here and there that I honestly feel like people either overlook or just honestly don't give enough thought into, and it's kind of sad. Again, I'm not making fun of anybody when I say that. I'm not trying to pick any fights. I'm not trying to say anybody's wrong for what they think. There's obviously good reasons behind it, because there are some people that are like, well, with the DVD release being this day, why would they continue past it? You know, if it's the entire series of Super, it means it's the entire series of Super all the way up to the last episode. If that's the only way... Shit. Sorry about that, guys. Quick phone call. But as I was saying, I'm not trying to do anything in that regard. Again, people obviously have their own reasons in believing that it end at 131, but there's also a lot of other reasons that go to the contrary that would lead you to believe it'd be more so around 135. Because again, I still gotta add that there's nothing that says that there would be any breaks between it. What about all this different information that still needs to be talked about? Nobody wants this to be a rushed ending, so why would you make it a rushed ending? There's just way too much into it that just goes against that. That leads me to believe it end in 135 episodes rather than excuse me, that would end at episode 135 rather than episode 131. And again, just dealing with the whole thing of Vegeta, we still have to cover that, which also still deals with the added question of how are you going to end it? Is Vegeta going to be the thing that basically causes them to win the tournament? Is it going to be Goku versus Jiren at the last two men standing that'll hash it out for the rest of the Tournament of Power as Ultra Instinct Goku versus full powered Jiren? Those are key decisions too that are going to need to be implemented for the story in order for us to truly know how this is going to end. And as fans, we want to see that ending. We want to have that, yeah, they pulled it out no matter how strong Jiren was. Granted, at this point, they have made Jiren a little bit too strong for their own good. So, with that in mind, as I've mentioned previously, as much as it would be a cop-out ending, there is the strong possibility with that time limit is basically what decides the winner of the Tournament of Power. Which would suck, but it's one of the only other things that makes the most sense. And from there, once we have that established, like, is it going to be Vegeta, is it going to be Goku, you know, I have to establish, like, okay, who all is going to be remaining for Universe 7 when this happens? Is this going to happen? Is this going to happen? What exactly is going to lead up into this grand ending for the Tournament of Power? Because it has to be a big ending for an arc that has honestly given us a lot of great moments out of Super, and for the Dragon Ball franchise as a whole. Because I do know there's a lot of people out there that don't like Super like that, that aren't into Super like that. But Super, as part of the Dragon Ball franchise, I can honestly say without a doubt has been one of my more favorite entries into the series. And yes, I have been one that had to go back to Dragon Ball to see Goku grow up, meet Master Roshi, train with Krillin, meet Yamcha, Bulma, go through Emperor Pilaf, the Red Ribbon Army, grow up, fight Piccolo at the World Tournament, and then lead back into Z. So I've had to play catch up in that sense of all the entirety of Dragon Ball as a whole, even including GT. As much as, yes, GT was crap, Super, no pun intended, supersedes that. And it's a welcome part of a beloved franchise that deserves a satisfying and proper ending. And ending it at 131 just doesn't do that. It doesn't give us the time needed to fill in any extra information, the fighting, everything else. It'll feel too rushed. That's exactly what'll happen. And basically, from 128 on, it's just going to be that way, and it's going to feel very unsatisfying. You're going to get a lot of angry fans. So the only way to do it is make sure we establish these things, because the other thing about this too is Frieza's whole underlining plan to win the Super Dragon Balls, because we still don't know how they're going to base it off. Even though it will go to a fighter of the winning universe, we don't know how the Zenos are going to basically give out the Super Dragon Balls. Is it going to be based off of what Frieza was doing? Is it going to be based off what Vegeta was doing? Is it going to be given to Goku? It might even be given to Android 17 for all we know. And there's a process in deciding that too that needs to be fully established as well. And then once that happens, are the other universes going to come back? What's going to happen with them? Are they just going to stay gone? Because they will introduce a lot of different interesting characters through the Tournament of Power that would be interesting if you are going to create another series for Dragon Ball after the 2018 movie and bringing it back again. It would be interesting to have them back and basically have more adventures in dealing with these other gods and these other personalities within these other universes. Now, I do like the one theory that basically all the other universes are brought back, but basically they're like combined to make I guess super universes, to where the Zenos get what they originally wanted in cutting down the amount of universes there are, while still at the same time all the other planets and gods were brought back to life and just basically are now in sectors or sections of these now super universes that now exist. So with that in mind, we also still have to, there's just so much, guys. There's just so much that has to be figured out, and the time given within these episodes just don't do it. With that, you need the extra 4 episodes. You need them. And just bringing back up Frieza again, we've seen what he's done throughout the Tournament of Power, and studying what how the gods reacted to when Goku first achieved Ultra Instinct, and they're kind of panicking. I might be able to use this later. I'm gonna have to learn how to do that sometime. Do it when I come back to life. Because the other thing people have to remember is that even if Frieza doesn't get the Super Dragon Balls, Goku is not one to go back on his word on something like this, and he will revive Frieza. Pretty sure of it. Now, there is a theory floating around where basically Frieza will do something to get himself erased by the Zenos. So, while I don't believe it, it is a strong possibility as well. So we have to be able to remember that and be able to see it through as a possibility. Because we do know that Frieza wants to use the Super Dragon Balls to basically become the God of Gods and even supersede Zeno, ruling over all of creation. That's what Frieza wants. And then you also have the possibility of, even if Frieza doesn't get the Super Dragon Balls but is still brought back to life, what does Frieza do from there? Well, one would think that he would go back to his home planet and train to learn Ultra Instinct, and for all we know in that, we could probably get Cooler to become canon, because who's his only other remaining family member alive? Maybe. We don't know. We could also probably find out if Frieza has a mother. We could probably also get King Cold back, probably get a little bit more read on his actual power, because he seemed to be the only one to understand Frieza and how to rein him in, as it were. And there's just so much as far as like just Frieza's subplot alone adds to that entire lore that Dragon Ball is currently trying to create. So guys, at the end of it all, my Dragon Ball discussion here today is, what do you guys really think as far as like the show ending at 131, given everything that's within the story? Do you think it's still plenty and it won't feel rushed? Maybe I'm just one of those guys that like the extra fluff, the extra fighting. Or do you believe I'm right? Or do you have your own opinion? Let me know in the comments below. As always guys, I hope you enjoyed the video, and until next time, I'll see you next time.